All right, readers. Those clocks, they are striking 13, so let us begin. Guys, I got to start out this week with an apology. I'm so sorry. Really, I am. But it's unavoidable. Had to come up. This week, we are doing F. Scott Fitzgerald's so-called masterpiece. So-called! Finger quotations in the air and all. That bullshit. Doing The Great Gatsby. Why is it called The Great Gatsby? I really don't know. I'm guessing the middling to decent Gatsby wouldn't sell many fucking units. It's not a great book. There's so many people out there that love this book. And you know, it's okay. It's got some redeeming qualities. There's some examples in it of really good writing. And I mean, I see why it has its place in the literary world as this little speakeasy, jazz age slice of Americana. Read this, know what was happening then. But in the end, it's a book about rich people getting drunk and screwing around on their husbands and wives. It's about infidelity when it was new and drinking during Prohibition. So it's about all the worst things Americans can be. And yet not the terrible things poor people can be. We could never celebrate terrible poor people. We can celebrate terrible rich people. We do it in our society all the time. But that's all this book is. If you want to read a F. Scott Fitzgerald book where he does that, then read The Beautiful and the Damned. It's a much better book. All that drinking and adultery, it's all there and done in a much better way. Oh, but it's a long book. It's so long. I have to sit and read for a while. I want to read the thin version. I really think that's the only reason that this is considered a masterpiece and why it's taught. It's because it's little. It's a thin little... I mean, it's still a novel, but it's got to be a borderline novella. It's like people got tired of talking about how great Hemingway was. They're like, let's find someone else from the lost generation to talk about. And Faulkner, most of his stuff sucks. Fitzgerald, the Gatsby's little. Maybe I can read it real quick. Yay, we'll talk about this now. The Lost Generation. Yay, someone besides Hemingway. Like I said, it's okay. It's middling to decent. For the most part, it's boring. I found it to be boring. I find it to be boring as hell. That's why anytime I hear about what is the great American novel, this is the book that's brought up. The Great Gatsby is the great American novel. Some really intelligent people out there argue for it nonstop. And I can't get it. You're intelligent. You've read a lot of books. How in the world can you consider The Great Gatsby of all fucking things the great American novel? Throw out The Grapes of Wrath. Or if you need a different Steinbeck one, throw out the smart one and the big dummy. Shit. Mice and Men. They don't want to bring up Twain because of racist words. I guess the same thing they got against Steinbeck. But Gatsby? Really? I don't fucking know, guys. I think I read it too late. Because you hear these hypes about these great works, these masterpieces. So all my life, I thought Gatsby's one of those masterpieces I'm going to save. I'm going to hold on to and savor. Worked with 451. Fahrenheit 451 fucking rocked. I was pissed off I didn't read that as a young man when it would have applied to me more. Gatsby I read and thought, that's it? I've already read The Beautiful and the Damned and it was better. It was thicker. It had more meat and bones to it. It was a book. It was a novel. It was a full story, damn it. It was good. Gatsby? And really, how cynical... I'm a cynical human being. But how cynical do you have to be as a human to consider a book about drunken rich folk doing nothing worthwhile with their time besides cheating on their spouses? And how can that be considered worthwhile? A book that's really about immoral behavior. About lying to your fellows. About lying to everyone around you about who you are and where you've been. Is it about lost love? Are we a nation of whiners? Where our great American novel has to be about lost love and trying to win it back? Is that where we're at? Even if your lost love has moved on to a different husband, and now you want to win her back despite the fact she's married with a child? You want to win her back? That's your American dream? That's your great American book? Fuck that. I'll never call this the great American novel. Hell, I don't even like calling it great, and great's in the title. It's just not for me. So when these really smart people tell me how great it is and that it's the great American book, I just shake my head and think, God damn. Do they believe the other intellectuals? Do they just agree with each other and nod in agreement like, oh, well, he said it. It must be true. Yes, yes, great. Great, 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 great. Well, fuck that. I can't join the lemmings. If I'm a lemming for believing it's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, I will follow that line off the cliff proudly any day of the week. But I am not hopping into the Gatsby line. Never. Not once. And now I got to spend a lot more time talking about it. We'll get to the little. Like I said, little. It's barely bigger than The Old Man and the Sea. I don't know. If you're going to waste your time on a little Gatsby book, if you're going to waste your time on a little Fitzgerald book, get The Last Tycoon. That's a damn good read. It's a shame he didn't live long enough to finish it. I think that probably would have been his masterpiece. Never talked about, because he didn't finish it. So, we just shove it aside. But it was good, for what it's worth. Started out really, really good. Gatsby doesn't. We'll get to that next, guys, right after a quick word from our sponsors. Today's book report is brought to you by misnomers, false adjectives, otherwise known as flat-out lies. We're talking about The Great Gatsby, folks, and it ain't great. If you live in the Paradise View apartments, you know they ain't paradise, and the only view you got is of a really shitty creek running along a ditch that is filled with shit water. The better the name, guess what? The worse the product. You ever heard of somebody with a grand damn brag? Hell no, because it ain't grand. We only call it the Grand Canyon because guess what? That draws a lot more tourists than if we called it that big fucking hole in the ground. Stick to your guns, people. Stick to your chops. If a product sounds good, that's because salesmen get paid millions of dollars to sell you that product. Stick to the plain stuff. Plain stuff is good. It can be plain smoke and simple, and nobody has to ask why. It's just good. It doesn't have to have a great name. If it needed a great name, it would suck. Alright, guys. To start things out, well, as you can probably guess from the intro, I'm probably going to do a lot of down talking on this novel. Just because if you want to hear the good things about it, there's plenty of people out there that'll praise this book to no end. If that's what you want, just turn this off now and go find one of theirs. People praise this book all the time. I will start out by saying some good things, though. For starters, the book does a very good job of grounding you into what it is. This is a book about drunken rich people. Start you out, and another good thing that Fitzgerald does beautifully in this book. He gives you the characters. You're introduced to the main characters of the book, and they're introduced slowly enough so all their character traits come out. Like, even though it's called The Great Gatsby, the story is told from the perspective of one Nick Carraway. Now, Nick's a likable guy. He's really the only likable person in the entire book. He did grow up rich, like everybody in this book, basically. And when he comes back from World War, it's World War I to us now, but of course they didn't call it that. They didn't know there was going to be a second one. But Nick comes back from the World War, and he kind of looks down on non-soldiers. His family had been rich for 3 generations, and he leaves his Midwest home for the East Coast, just because the war just kind of made him restless. He couldn't stand just sitting about the family plot anymore. So he moves to New York, after going to Yale, of course. He's a Yale man. And that's the other thing about this. People are always bragging that they're Harvard or Yale or Oxford. Guess it meant something back then. Anyway, I'm sure it still does today. Anyway, he's a Yale man. And in New York, he's going to go into bonds and securities. And he moves out to Long Island. He moves into a shack. That's how it's described. His home is a shack. And it's next to Gatsby's mansion. Now, it's hard for me to picture a shack next door to a mansion. Excuse me, guys. I don't know if this was more common back then, like, hey, let's build a rich dude's place here, and then next to it, let's make a poor squatter's shanty. But apparently that's how things used to happen, even in Long Island, where some of the most richest real estate is located in the known world. So that's what Nick's got going for him. He lives in a shack, but it is next to Gatsby's mansion. Gatsby himself. He represents everything Nick hates. Again, I like Nick. He thinks that Gatsby represents everything he hates in the world. Me and Nick kind of see eye to eye on this point. But Gatsby does do it with a flair and some romanticism that makes him mostly likable. To each his own, Nick. I disagree. Then we get Tom Buchanan. Tom went to college with Nick. He's another Yale man. He comes from an enormously wealthy family. How rich? He has polo ponies. Yeah, not just a pony. He has a flock of ponies for playing polo. Nick describes him as a good football player. He's married to one Daisy. And he also happens to have a mistress in New York City. All these people are unlikable. You can't just have a wife back then. You needed a mistress on the side, too. But his wife, Daisy, now she's the cousin of Nick. Now, in the end, she's going to be the object of affection for Gatsby as well, but we don't know that in the beginning. In the beginning, Daisy's just the cousin of Nick. And there's just this, she's described as having a way about her that always made excitement forthcoming. Just, I don't know, you know those people who, to be around them, life seems exciting? Daisy's one of those chicks. And of course, like I said, she's married to Tom. They have a 2-year-old daughter. And like any good parent, especially a loving mother taking care of her small 2-year-old child, she has to guess if their daughter has eaten anything today and if she's even talking yet. Yeah, Daisy has no clue. But she does hope that her daughter grows up to be a beautiful fool because that's what is best for women. Book of the Year, 2013. Women have to grow up to be beautiful fools because that's best for them. Fucking nailed it, USA Today. And then also, we even get to know about Tom's wife, or Daisy's his wife. We get to know about his mistress. She's a mechanic's fat wife in Queens. Her name is Mrs. Wilson. I thought that's hilarious. Tom, this ex-football player who owns ponies, married to a beautiful socialite like Daisy. Yet his mistress is this fat slob in Queens that's married to a mechanic. Again, each to their own. And the first parts of the chapter, it all ends with them just getting drunk and gossiping. And at the very end of the most drunken debacle in New York, at Tom's mistress's second apartment, maybe it's Tom's, it's unclear. They just go there and get shit-faced, fill the place with cigarette smoke. And Tom breaks his mistress's wife for mentioning his wife's name. Yeah, Tom knows that she's married. She knows he's married. She brings up his wife. He punches in their face and breaks her nose. This is the type of ideal rich people we're dealing with here. But American Dream, guys. Great American book. Breaking women's noses because you're a giant football player of a dude that owns ponies. Beautiful inspiration for the kiddos. As chapter 3 comes along, we learn about the extravagance of Gatsby. His parties are the thing of legend. I think that's why there's that big movie about it. They just wanted to show these parties. I mean, there's trays of fruit, there's caterers that bring all this extravagant food in. This is the time of Prohibition, but there's all the booze you can want. There's full-scale orchestras on the lawn, in the house, playing to the people wherever they go. And then on Mondays, a cleanup crew comes in to take care of all the trash and, normal cleanup duties. And to start setting up for the next weekend's, drunken debauchery. Get done with one, start setting up for the next. Good times. And it's said that no one's ever invited to Gatsby's home. People just show up. Now, Nick, being the good guy he is, doesn't feel right just going to someone's house uninvited, even his neighbors. So out of all these people that just show up at Gatsby's house in the entire story, Nick Carraway, only one that's ever invited. Thought that was nice. Like I said, makes you like Nick. And oh yeah, this is where we start to meet Gatsby, and he calls Nick Old Sport. As in, hey, here we go, Old Sport, or hey, Old Sport, just... You won't even fucking call him Nick. It's just Old Sport, Old Sport, Old Sport. Starts calling Tom Old Sport, too, and I wanted Tom to break his fucking nose. Old Sport. What a douche. But we also get to start to learn that no one knows anything about old Mr. Gatsby. But there's whispers. There's whispers in the parties. No one even knows who he is, but hey, people are whispering. He's a murderer. He's a German spy. He's an Oxford man. He's a bootlegger. He's the second cousin of the devil. I don't know why that second part was thrown in there, but I give Fitzgerald props. No one wanted to make him evil enough to be the first cousin of the devil, but second cousin removed? That would be okay for the main character of a novel. My favorite character in the entire book, aside from Nick, I like a little side character thrown in here and there. Just, that guy you know is not going to be in the book, but he shows up, and he livens things up when he does. It's the drunk in the library at Gatsby's party for me. Where everybody's whispering, just trying to guess who this fake man Gatsby is. The drunk's in his library, searching through his books. Now, Nick and Jordan's the other character that I didn't really talk about. It's kind of hinted at that, Nick's banging her. It's never really said. They kind of almost hook up in the end, but then Nick kind of leaves her. And that's this whole novel. It's half truths, half promises, half fulfilled dreams. It's really only halfway good. But they come upon a drunk in a library. And he's going through all these books, and they don't know what he's doing, and he keeps telling them, guys, the books are real. I thought it was fake. I thought this was for show. But the books, they're real. Now, as readers, we have to appreciate that. People just for show could set up a fake library. Not Gatsby. Every detail's taken care of. Even his library's real. And the drunk's proud of him. And I'm proud of that damn drunk. Then, when Gatsby and Nick do finally meet, we get to learn some things. Not only was Nick in the war, Gatsby was in the war. They recognize each other. I forget exactly which front they were on, but they'd come across each other, in his old wartime, not buddies, but still accomplices, associates. Just knowing each other from the wartime, it gives that mutual level of respect. And when you respect someone, you invite them to take out a test flight in your hydroplane. At least if you're as rich as Gatsby, you do. Fuck. Hydroplane. Goddamn, I hate these people. Towards the end of the party, there's husbands and wives fighting till the women are left in tears. First Chicago, then Philadelphia calls for Gatsby. Doesn't say who, they're just referred to as like the entire cities. Of course it ends up being underground bootlegging mobsters, but that's like how it's put. Chicago's calling for you. Philly's calling for you. As if the entire city was just sitting there waiting for a response from Gatsby. No one gives a shit. I guess maybe the people want to get drunk too. But I think he's just picking up booze there. It's never really mentioned. Who the fuck knows? We have to ask Fitzgerald and he's dead. Anyway, outside the party, at least that night when Nick first meets Gatsby, there's a car wreck. And it's the drunk dude from the library. He fucking wrecked his car. It's awesome. And guess what? This was back in those good old days when no one called the police. It's just drunks being drunks. No one cared he wrecked drunkenly. Jordan gets in to drive Nick home, and she admits, I'm a bad driver. A woman admitting she's a bad driver. I love Jordan. I hope Nick's fucking her. And then, I don't like this book, and I keep bringing up what I like. The characterization, the different characters. The drunk in the library. The same drunk wrecking his car. Nick's my favorite. Favorite line from the book. It's one of the only quotes I'm going to give you. I hope the only one. I don't want to go quoting Fitzgerald or else I might punch myself in the face. But Nick says, and I quote, I am one of the few honest people that I have ever known. Goddamn right and good for you, Nick. That's why I like you. You live in a shack. You fought in a war. You won't go to a place uninvited. And you're honest. And you believe him when he says it. You don't think he's lying to you in any way, shape, or form. Nick's a likable dude. He ends up being Gatsby's only friend, which is kind of sad. All these people in your home and no friends. It's nice of Nick. Nick is a likable dude. I wish he would have been written in a better book. Oh well, I gotta take a quick break, guys. I'll be right back to do the second half and the ending of the Midland to Decent Gatsby right after this. And now, a public service announcement brought to you by The Book Report. Look, guys, if you're going to get in a wreck in your car, please have the common decency to move your car and whatever you wrecked into off to the side of the road. We all know everyone else is a bad driver. All we do in our cars is bitch about other people. So just remember, everybody else is bitching about you just as goddamn much as you're bitching about them. So when you find yourself in another fender bender, get the fuck off the road. Don't be the guy everybody's bitching at. As a matter of fact, live your life by that credo. Don't be that guy or gal everybody's bitching about. Don't spit your gum on the sidewalks. Don't leave a wrecked car on the street to back up traffic for miles and miles and miles. And keep using those fucking turn signals. They're on your car for a reason. If you don't use your turn signal, your airbag should automatically not inflate when you are in a fender bender and you are going to leave your car on the road to back up traffic for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. Quit bitching about people when you're just as shitty of a person as everybody else. This has been a public service announcement by The Book Report. Thank you. Alright, guys. Let's get into the second half of this convoluted, mixed up mess of a novel. As much as I bitched about it, I feel like I heaped way too much praise on it in the first half. I was reviewing my notes. I forgot how ridiculously complicated this book becomes. I'll stop scratching my head. That's probably annoying. Alright, so Nick is one of the only honest people he's ever known, and much is good. And then we get into it. Jesus Christ, this mess of a fucking plot. It's revealed that other than Tom, Daisy knew a soldier before her cousin joined the war. And that soldier was Gatsby. So, Nick, knowing the two knew each other, at Gatsby's request, he arranges a meeting between the two. It's to take place in his little shack, in view of the giant Gatsby mansion. Why they couldn't meet in a mansion, who the fuck knows, but they can't. They gotta meet in Nick's shack, and they do. Nick leaves them alone for half an hour. It's all tense and weird, and Gatsby sneaks out the back door for some reason and knock on the front door, and Anyway, after a half hour, Nick comes back. And all the anxiety, the anxiousness, the uncomfortableness, it's gone. Gatsby's his old self. Hey, old sport. It's him. And Daisy, she's crying, but with joy. The good crying that women do for some reason. I fucking know. Then the weird stuff starts happening. It's revealed that the house Gatsby bought, the only reason he bought it, and not the fashionable part of Long Island, when there was such a thing. I don't know if there still is. But he bought it because it crossed the sound, the lake, what the fuck ever. He's got a view of Tom and Daisy's house. That's why Gatsby bought his home, because even on a foggy night, he could see that back porch light, that one light, to let him know that woman he always loved, Daisy. She's within view. She's closer. I'm getting close. It's kind of sweet if you think about it, but it's also a really creepy, stalker-esque type move. Dudes, don't do it. Someone you used to love, they got married and have a daughter, don't buy a house across the lake from them. It's fucking weird. Don't do it. Because guess what? They get together, think it's good, but Daisy has fallen short of what Gatsby dreamed her to be. Let's see what the fuck else happens. Oh yeah, 'cause it's been a 5-year absence. People change, especially like get married and they have kids. They change. Ugh, Gatsby still wants her. It's revealed that his real name is actually James Gatz, but at 17 he changed it to J. Gatsby. He's even got a shitty rewrite of his name. From James Gatz, you become J. Gatsby? The fuck? Gotta change your name, change it. Don't. Anyway, so he invites Daisy and Tom to one of his parties. Second invite of the book. Remember, most people just show up. Nick was invited. Now Daisy and Tom get an invite. But they hate it. Or is it Tom's presence there that everyone's hates? Ooh. Anyway, at the party, it's revealed Gatsby wants Daisy to tell her husband Tom that she never loved him. She was always in love with Gatsby because I don't know why he thought this, but it's what he wanted. It's what he's built up in his head over this 5-year period. That he'd meet her, and even though she was married, she'd suddenly tell her husband, I never loved you, and come live with you instead. The fuck knows. Doesn't even make sense when you're reading it. Alright, but then Party's over. They all get together on a train. All of them. Jordan's there, Nick's there, Tom's there, Daisy's there, Gatsby's there. They're all together, and they're all on this train car, stuck together. And not only are they all there, Tom gets on the phone with his mistress, not knowing that his wife, but then it's revealed that, I don't know, Daisy gives Gatsby a kiss. She introduces him to her daughter, the little girl earlier. She didn't know if had ate or could talk or anything yet, but she wants Gatsby to meet the little kid that no one seems to care about or love in this book. And then when Tom finally gets off the phone with his mistress and his wife and her soon-to-be mister, what the fuck a cheating dude's called? I guess just a dude. Tom seems love between them. He doesn't fucking like it. I said I wasn't going to do any quotes, but I wrote this down. I forgot because it cracks me up. Quote from Gatsby. Not just the novel itself. I mean, Gatsby said this. Daisy's voice is full of money. The fuck? She's a rich bitch. We get it. Good. Who cares? Another note I made. This is after the train. That convoluted mess was just weird. For some reason, Fitzgerald wanted to put everyone there in an awkward situation. Well, I know why. It took them from Long Island to New York. But still, it was just weird. It didn't fit anything except for to show awkwardness. Maybe he just wanted to prove he could write an awkward moment. If so, credit to you, Fitzy. Good job. So, when they get to the city, they gotta drive somewhere, but for some reason, Tom drives Gatsby's car, and Gatsby's driving Tom's car. Dude, in their vehicles, I don't know if this is a metaphor for they're both fucking each other's women. I don't know, but from any symbolistic sense, I don't know, but know that they drive each other's cars. Gatsby's driving Tom's driving Gatsby's. Yeah. Only reason it makes a difference to me is because they go to the gas station and they pay $1.20 for gas. And when I say they pay $1.20 for gas, I don't mean a gallon. That was a fill-up. Yeah, not some dude named Phillip. That filled the car up. $1.20. Fucking A, times were good. So anyway, the guy that's pumping the gas is Tom's lover's husband, the mechanic dude from Queens. He wants to buy a car from Tom so he can take his wife, who he now knows is cheating, not with Tom, he just knows she's fucking somebody. He wants to buy a car from Tom so he can take his wife out west where she won't cheat on him anymore. Yeah! Fucking happens. Gatsby then tells Tom that he loves Daisy. His mistress, his husband, is telling him that he wants to take his mistress away from him out west. This dude Gatsby wants to take his wife away, and he's telling Daisy, you don't love him. Tell him. It's uncomfortable, weird. Tom's this big football player, polo pony riding dude, and both his women are being drug away. It's weird. And so, more weird things happen. They get their cars exchanged back. But Daisy wants to ride with Gatsby. And Gatsby lets her drive. Problem, because when Tom was driving Gatsby's car, his mistress was up above the gas station while they were getting that fill up for $1.20. She comes running down thinking Tom's coming. It's not Tom now. It's Daisy driving Gatsby's car, and Daisy runs her fat ass over. Which is kind of cool, because it was the chick that was fucking her husband, but she didn't really know it. She just accidentally ran over the bitch. She's dead. Gatsby's car kills Tom's mistress. Daisy driving. See what the fuck I'm getting at, guys? This is a convoluted, mixed up mess of a novel. He doesn't come out and say it as plainly as I just told y'all. That was plain speak. In Fitzgerald's narrative, shit's just happening through Nick's point of view, and he's not even with Gatsby and Daisy. They just drive up on a scene where this fat chick's dead, and it turns out to be Tom's mistress, who's going out west husband when Tom's gonna sell a car. Oh, fuck, I hate this book. I'm almost done, guys, I swear. I have to go through notes just because I've read this a couple times. I've given it every chance in the fucking world. I've given it every chance to be good. It refuses. Doesn't want to be. Again, Nick doesn't deserve to be in this book. Stephen King, adopt Nick Carraway. Yeah. Alright. So, after all this nonsense of not Tom, he's the husband. My head hurts just from talking about this stupid fucking book. Okay, Gatsby. Him and Daisy have arranged to run off together. Only Daisy doesn't come. Because after I think she was kind of punch drunk and drunk. Everyone in this book's always drunk on the train. They're getting loaded up while she's introducing her kid and she's kissing on him. Her husband's there talking to his mistress before she's dead. Anyway, Daisy kind of came to her senses and she doesn't show up. She realizes she didn't always love Gatsby. She did love Tom, and that's why she married him, because that's why people get married. She didn't marry him for his money. That would have been another good reason. But she has money too. That part wasn't necessary. She did love Tom. So she couldn't say what Gatsby wanted her to say. And so she doesn't show up. Nick comes over, and the house is all dusty. He hasn't been having parties or having it cleaned. He's even fired all his old servants. He's got these new surly dudes. You know, because people are so used to coming, he hired these surly, shitty servants. But on purpose to keep the people from coming anymore. And then Daisy's kind of shown as this grail that Gatsby's been striving for. He got money and rich because when he was just a lowly soldier and he first met Daisy and fell in love with him, he wasn't good enough for her, so he had to accumulate wealth in order for her to love him. And now that he has the wealth and he has everything, he deserves the girl, but he's fucking married and he's just a daughter. Quit it, Gatsby. I hope somebody fucking shoots you in the face. Turns out Wilson's hunting for Gatsby in that yellow car. 'Cause all Wilson knows, he's the mechanic, by the way. His fat wife got ran over in the street by Daisy in Gatsby's car. He just knows that a yellow car ran down his wife. So Wilson is hunting for that yellow car. Turns out, this is later, Tom tells Wilson whose yellow car it was. Because Tom wants the dude that's going to take his wife away, or at least try to, out of the picture, now that his mistress is out of the picture. And what better way to get rid of one dude than by the other dude? Get rid of both the dudes who are trying to fuck the two women you are fucking. Get them to take each other out. I like Tom. That's a diabolical genius. Can't fuck her anymore. She's dead. Technically I could. Be weird, so I'm not gonna. So I'm gonna fuck my wife. You stop him from fucking her. Go get him. Kudos for Tom. Good plan. Wish it was told that simply. It's not. So they don't even show it, but what ends up happening is Wilson shoots Gatsby, and then he shoots himself. All they know is gunshots were heard, and then Gatsby's just dead in his parlor. Or he's helped into his house, then he's in his parlor. This book hurts. And I don't mean emotionally. I mean just talking about it, discussing it on a rational, just a prose level. Like, this happened, this happened, this happened. It didn't really happen this way in the book. He makes it even more convoluted, but in the end, Wilson, the mechanic, does shoot Gatsby. Not in the face. That'd have been cooler. Then he kills himself. Wilson and Gatsby are dead. The mistress is dead. Tom's got his wife. Nick's still around. I think he's still fucking Jordan, but he's about to fuck that up too. So in the end, only husband and wife are going to have sex with each other. So in that part, there's a happy ending. Yeah. So, while Gatsby is trying to arrange for people to come... No, wait a minute. Gatsby's the dead one. The good character. Nick is trying to arrange for people to come to Gatsby's funeral. He doesn't think that anybody should be buried and not remembered. Especially a dude that threw all these great parties that everybody show up to. So, Nick tries to get the funeral party together. No one wants to come. Chicago calls. Some dude named Wolfsheim. But the criminals in Gatsby's past, turns out he was a bootlegger, it seems like. It's still just hinted at it, and they just never come around and say it. He was involved in illegal activity. The guys from Chicago, Philadelphia, none of them are coming to Gatsby's funeral. He was gunned down. Bad scene for a criminal to be at. So, they're not coming. Daisy and Tom, nobody can get a hold of them. They're kind of reunited. I don't know if they're in love or not, but they left. I guess try to make their wedding work. gives a fuck. They're gone. Good. Tom and Daisy are gone. Doesn't even say they took their kid with them. Who knows? They don't know what the fuck that little girl's doing. These people suck. So anyway, Gatsby's funeral. You got Nick, Gatsby's dad. Gatsby's dad was a nice character. Introduced, proud of his boy. Gatsby sent him some money, proud of his military service, proud of the wealth he accumulated. Proud dad of his son. Very nice. Nice touch, Fitchy. Gotta give you credit on that one. Alright, so the funeral. Nick, Gatsby's dad, the preacher, the postman. Who the fuck? I guess he tipped his postman well. I don't know. But he shows up to the funeral. And the second favorite character in the book, the drunken book guy from the original party earlier. The one who said these books are real. And then drunkenly wrecked his car in front of Gatsby's house. That dude. Only partier to show up. Because in the end, Fitzgerald is a writer. And so the book dude has to show up and pay his respects. Because book people are good people. Even this bad book proves it. Book dude is there with the postman, with the preacher, with the dad, and with Nick. And that's fucking it. Oh yeah, and at this point, we finally find out that it was Tom that told Wilson it was Gatsby's car. After all that other bullshit happens, we just now get to learn that. But it does end pretty. Again, credit where credit's due. It's kind of Nick's. Well, of course, it's Fitzgerald's epilogue, but it's talking through Nick, the good character. It ends very pretty. The last few pages are nice. But it's also still kind of convoluted. He kind of breaks things off with Jordan. It wasn't going to work. Nick even knows this whole affair in New York was a fucking mess. I'm leaving. Going back to the Midwest where things are normal. Fuck the East Coast. But it does end pretty. And it ends with the theme. I get to the theme after all. The failed dreams are better left in the past. And I do like that. Whatever the past you wanted, forget it. Past you's dead and gone. It ruined Gatsby. He thought all he wanted was Daisy, but she moved on. He didn't. It brought him to his demise. Your failed dreams are left in the past. Don't bring your failures into the present. So maybe it's got a good lesson, but it's shown through such shitty people. I'm never reading this novel again. Never. I will read some of Fitzgerald's other books again. They're good. They're not great. I don't know. I really don't. I can't even talk about this anymore. I can't even think. My head hurts. But look, guys. F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. You know, I call it the middling to decent Gatsby. But it's The Great Gatsby. At least on the title page. Ain't really, but that's what the title says. You should all go out and read it. You never know. You might just like it more than me.